Erna lifted her gaze, exclaiming like an innocent child. Through the branches heavy with blossoms, a full white moon shone brightly. Just last night, it had appeared to float in the night sky as she peered through the window, restless and unable to sleep. The comfort derived from that natural beauty was surprisingly profound. Taking a deep breath, Erna began to walk down the road, her courage bolstered. Soon, she arrived at the house she had been repeating in her mind like a heartfelt prayer. It was the old-fashioned mansion at the western end of Tara Boulevard, the very hardy Garral that had once been her home. Before pressing the doorbell, Erna adjusted her dress once more. She straightened her posture and softened her smile to appear as warm and friendly as possible. She wasn't sure how she looked, but at least it met her own standards. "It's okay," she reassured herself, lying to ease her nerves as she reached for the doorbell with a trembling hand. "I really don't understand you." A woman's voice pierced through the lively strains of chamber music. At that moment, Bjorn opened his eyes, which had been slowly closing. As he tilted his head, he caught sight of Louise, who seemed almost to fill his vision with her excitement. In contrast to her enthusiasm, Bjorn's gaze was dry as he regarded his sister. "You say Gladys is coming back? Don't you realize what that means?" "Well?" Bjorn's eyes wandered through the hall, filled with dazzling chandelier light, before settling back on Louise's face. "It's going to be a rather unfortunate summer, or something along those lines." His blunt response, delivered with a bright smile, felt particularly cutting given his sluggish tone. "Oh my gosh, how could you speak of Gladys like that, the very Gladys whom you hurt and discarded?" Louise's anger flared as if she herself had been insulted. Even with such a sister at his side, Bjorn calmly picked up a glass of water. The droplets on the glass trickled down his long, smooth fingers. The charity party was a resounding success. When news spread that the beloved queen would be attending, ladies from high society flocked to Schwerin. The head of the royal hospital wore a smile that reflected the generosity of their donations. With exquisite food, enchanting music, and a guest list filled with social luminaries, the event had a dignity that justified the queen's presence. The Grand Duke's sacrifice of sleep to escort her was not in vain either. It was a pleasant spring weekend, except for Princess Louise, who buzzed around like an angry bee. "Brother, please fix your mistake now, yes?" Louise adopted a tone that seemed almost childlike in its pleading. Once a fervent supporter of Bjorn's marriage to Gladys, she had transformed into a fierce critic following the tumultuous divorce. Of course, it's not the kind of mistake that can simply be forgiven, but if Gladys were to forgive, I'm sure the two of the Duchess of Haina. Bjorn set down his glass and interrupted his sister. Despite the smile on his lips, his eyes and tone were calm, exuding a sense of composure. "It seems the Duke is looking for his wife. How about returning to your husband's side?" Bjorn gestured towards the Duke of Haina, who was weaving through the crowd of ladies beyond the hall. Louise licked her lips a few times, but, with a deep sigh, held back her words. Once Louise reluctantly departed, Bjorn rose. After a brief pause, the band began to play a waltz. Bjorn strolled leisurely among the ladies, who regarded him with a mix of caution and anticipation. The terrace leading to the garden was crowded with men stepping out to smoke cigars. "Bjorn, over here!" Spotting a familiar face, Bjorn turned. The usual chatter among the guests had quieted down today. Some attendees sipped their drinks with somber expressions, as if on the verge of tears. "The investment failed," Peter said, offering a glass filled with amber brandy. Bjorn leaned against the railing and accepted the drink. "Investment? I put money into foreign bonds, but it turned out to be a scam." Peter clicked his tongue, relaying the unfortunate news. Bjorn frowned slightly but showed no other reaction. It appeared that the number of fools caught in the recent investment craze was greater than anticipated. "Thank you, my lord. Because of you, I'm still alive." Peter leaned closer to Bjorn, lowering his voice to a whisper. After receiving enticing investment information, he had rushed straight to Schwerin Palace. The social circles that Prince Bjorn navigated seemed to possess a divine gift in two areas: women and finance. That day, after listening to Peter's excited explanation, Bjorn had summed up the situation succinctly. "Sick bastard." How insulting that mundane phrase sounded in a low voice. Peter Bergen had nearly committed a serious offense against the royal family. If it had been an opponent he could defeat, he certainly would have. But what could he do? For a moment, he had to safeguard his wealth at the expense of becoming a fool, which he could bear. Besides, hadn't he made a significant profit by investing in a steel company based on information he had received from Bayern? Just thinking about it made Peter feel a strange fondness for that unlucky prince. How much had Björn earned to achieve that level of income, which he had only just begun to taste? Clearly, one of his talents for making money was something akin to a trick. This was one of the key reasons Peter continued this friendship, enduring its dirtiness and disrespect. You must catch them, Björn. It's a serious crime with many victims, isn't it? The heir of a countess who locked eyes with Björn began to weep as she recited the names of the scammers. Most were children of noble families involved in the fraternity, but a few unfamiliar names were mixed in. Viscount Hardy lost nearly all his fortune. He's on the brink of suicide with a pistol right now. Hardy. The tedious complaints culminated in an unfamiliar name, perhaps the most serious fool of them all. After finishing his cigar, Björn turned his gaze toward the garden over the railing. Through the hazy smoke, he saw colorful spring flowers thriving in the sunlight. As he admired the scene, his gaze suddenly fixed on a flower bed filled with small white blooms, Lily of the Valley. Björn's eyes narrowed at the flower's name, recalling the bouquet Gladys had worn at their wedding. This flower, nicknamed the Flower of the Crown Princess, had been so beloved that it had caused a temporary shortage. Of course, its popularity had faded within a year. Now that he thought about it, it was the same flower that adorned the hat of the austere woman he had seen at the station, a lily of the valley that had long since fallen out of fashion. Björn hummed the waltz from the hall and exhaled a long plume of cigarette smoke. No wonder. Leaving the lily of the valley behind without a second thought, his gaze shifted to the white moon hanging in the night sky. Even a glance revealed no luck.